Season 2 of the Bait Boys podcast is brought to you by 8-Bit Baits, the highest quality color shifting pigments for bait makers by a bait maker. Welcome to the Bait Boys podcast, where the baits are all custom and the coping mechanisms are all universal. My name is Jesse with Freak Baits Custom Fishing Lures, and as always, I am joined by my co-hosts who put the damn in Demiki Rig, Anthony from Lazy Baits Co. and Trevor from Peak Baits. Gentlemen, how are you this fine evening?
Damn, how you doing, Jesse?
Spectacular.
Damn.
Doing excellent.
Good to hear.
Damn. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm running out of bait-related things to call you guys, so I had to get creative with that one. But we are also joined by none other than Dr. Glidez himself, Matt Gifford of Giff Glidez. Matt, how are you doing this evening? How's the doctor life treating you?
I'm doing well. Down here in Alabama and spent a couple days fishing, so happy to be with you tonight.
Awesome.
All
Well, I'm glad you can make it.
He's working hard right now.
Mm-hmm. Biology and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it is tough.
Yeah, this is Matt's third time on the podcast. We had him once in season 1 by himself, and then we had him in the season 1 finale in the Bait Makers Roundtable, and this is his first appearance in season 2. But Matt, thank you for taking the time to join us. I know you've had an eventful day and you're on vacation, so taking time out of that to hang out with 3 idiots on the internet, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to be with you guys, and I apologize I know we were supposed to do this last week, but life happens and things came up. But I'm glad we could reschedule it for tonight.
It's all good.
It happens. It happens. We are all bait makers third, really, and
All
podcasters fourth. But no, cool. We're going to jump into some more behind the scenes info with Matt here in just a second. But first, let's talk a little bit about announcements. I have said this for several episodes going now, but I just want to remind everybody that we are still full swing in the 8-Bit Baits Bait Boys Battle Royale. So if you have a bait that you are making or have made with 8-Bit Baits, snap some high-quality photos and email it to baitboyspodcast@gmail.com to enter to win one of 2 $250 8-Bit Baits gift cards. Big prizes on the line here.
When's the deadline?
We're running through April 30th, so you have just over a month as of this podcast airing. Have just over a month. So get your entries in. You can do hard baits or soft baits as long as you're using some 8-Bit Baits products in there, and you have to include the list of the specific product that you're using, not just the line of products, but also the color. But
you could do a hard bait and soft bait, right? One for each category.
You could. If you're one of those talented people that can do both, not me, then yes, you can enter one. You can enter a bait into each of the 2 categories. So one entry per category. We'll leave all the details down in the description below in case this is your first time hearing it. Hopefully not. Hopefully you've been watching for a while and this is your 15th time hearing it. But either way, get those baits made and send in those entries. We have some big prizes to give away. And huge thanks to Michael and 8-Bit Baits for not only sponsoring that contest, but also sponsoring the entirety of season 2 of the Bait Boys podcast. 8-Bit Baits, we are all big believers. I can't speak for Matt, but Anthony, Trevor, and I are big believers in 8-Bit Baits products, and you will not regret making the purchase if you have not already. If you already have, then you already know. But if you've been waiting, don't wait anymore. Get your order in, get your baits made, and submit it because, $250, that's a lot. That's enough to get you quite a long time down the road with some 8-Bit Bait stuff. So get those entries in. Any other announcements from the podcast side, fellas?
Try the moon dust. Not podcast announcement related, but if you
sponsor related, same thing.
If you order some, try the moon dust. That stuff is sweet. I don't know.
Does you still have some left?
Probably. I don't know. I got mine as soon as it came out. Maybe not.
Well, we'll leave a link
to it.
We'll leave a link to the 8-Bit Baits online store down in the description below. So check it out. Grab you some moon dust. Grab you some hollow shift. I'm a big fan of the siren scales. Been using those in some creative ways. So, like I said, you won't regret it. It's well worth the money. Highest quality stuff out there, in my humble opinion. But cool. All right. Well, anything else to add before we jump into the mind of Dr. Glidez?
I don't know if
like
you
we're
want to go there.
forgetting something, but I want to go there.
Want to go there? Real quick, before we do that, we'll go there. We're going there. We're headed there real soon. Anthony, talk a little bit about the tournament.
When's this airing? This is going
This
to
Sunday.
air the 29th. Tournament starts in 1, 2, 3 days. It's the Spring Showdown that it's a charity tournament we do for Take a Warrior Fishing. We have some awesome raffle prizes. I don't know if I can't turn my camera, but there's a whole table over here full of prizes that were generously donated by some awesome bait makers.
Mine's coming.
So awesome.
Mine's coming. Mine's coming. Trust me.
We got time because the tournament doesn't end until May 3rd.
Yeah, I know I promised them, but they're coming.
It runs for 2 months, and it's just a fun, you're already going to be fishing. You spend $20, it goes to charity, and you get the chance to compete, get some bragging rights. I heard the guys at Take a Warrior Fishing that joined got a freaking WWE style belt. So they're having their own sub competition within the tournament. So they're going to have some ultra bragging rights. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We did it the last 2 years, and, people get some awesome prizes at the end, and we all get to compete. I compete, come in like last place. I don't get to win anything, but.
And it's through Tourney X, right? So it's length, not weight, right?
Yep, it's all length, and I'm super lenient. You could do boat, bank, kayak, just artificial lures, take the picture, make sure the mouth is closed. It doesn't have to be a catch board. If you have a tape measure, just make sure it's visible. It's all for a good cause. It's not super competitive, but there are some competitive people. So we get some pretty big numbers on there. The last 2 years, the same guy won. He hammers them, dude. Giants. I think he's from Virginia, which kind of surprised me because, we got you're competing against people from Florida, California. So it's kind of cool to see. Everyone thinks the stereotype is like the big fish are more down south, but not. I don't know. It's kind of like, seems to be like middle of the country to me.
Virginia's got some tanks.
Yeah, this guy catches giants.
Yeah.
But see if you could beat him this year. Stephen Beck, I think his name was.
Yeah. I don't catch big fish, so.
Me either, but it's
you never know. You could. You start trying.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
we'll leave a link to the Tourney X sign up down in the description below. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry. I thought you were saying something. Never mind. But cool. Yeah. Join the tournament. It doesn't cost a lot to enter. It's all hosted through Tourney X, and everything that you pay towards your entry minus whatever fees Tourney X takes goes directly to Take a Warrior Fishing, which is a very, very awesome not-for-profit organization that helps veterans get out on the water. So great. Cool. All right. Now it's time to open the mind of Dr. Glidez. It's easy access because he's a bald dude like me. No hair to get in the way. But Matt, I know that you've already been on a couple of times, but for people who didn't catch those episodes, I'll leave a card right here. Open in a new tab to check out the first episode with Matt and watch it later, or watch it first, but pause this one. We got to keep those engagement rates up. But for those that haven't seen the first episode, why don't you just give a quick spiel about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so Matt Gifford, run Giff Glidez custom swim baits out of Central Arkansas, and I've been bait building for several years, I guess. I guess it's several now. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, but really in the swim bait game, I guess, formally for the last year or so. I started Giff Glidez in January 2025, and just been kind of cruising along since then. I mean, the biggest thing, I guess the thing I enjoy the most about it all is, and I think Anthony can probably relate, and some of you others may as well, but I mean, the whole design process of swim baits is what really got me into it. and got me interested in it, and just kind of, trying to do something a little bit unique, with each bait that you make. And so that's kind of what's pushed me along, and had a little bit of success with it so far, and hoping it continues into 2026.
I think it will.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. You make good stuff. So the first thing I want to ask you about here, Matt, is how does it feel to be a dirty liar? Because I'm going to put the clip up right here so people know what we're talking about.
I'm sure you will.
I mean, I will say I respect the hell out of you guys that can paint, because that is something. I mean, I tinkered around with it a little bit, and I've talked to some folks. They're like, "Oh, you can do it. Yeah, it just takes time." It's like, no. I'm not capable of doing it, and I don't have the patience to do it.
So in that clip, Matt was, glazing all of us to say, "Oh, you guys are great painters. I could never do that." And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up on the screen some of the stuff that Matt has painted since that episode. Like,
he's a hustler,
brand new painter. Like, we've exchanged texts about airbrushes and compressors and everything, and you immediately were nailing it. Like, you immediately picked it up so naturally. So when you first started, what made you decide to want to start painting? Like, what made you decide to jump in from I'm building all these awesome glide baits and swim baits, and I'm sending them off to other people to get painted. Like, what made you decide that I'm going to give it a crack myself?
Yeah. So first of all, everything I said in that previous episode about admiring the other painters and everything else, that stands 100%. Every painter, and this was a comment I believe I made, every painter has their own style, right? Everyone does something really, really well. And those good painters are those who, when you see a bait, you know who it came from, right? I mean, when you look at Colorado Customs, it's a Colorado Customs. I mean, that's Krista's bait. When you see Floyd's baits, that's Floyd's. When you see Trevor's baits, Trevor has his own style, and that's Trev's bait. When you see Peyton Stump's baits, something in the scales, easy to tell whether he painted a Buka bait, whether he painted, you name it, a throwback, whatever it is, that it's Peyton's stuff. And so I want to throw that out from the beginning. Admire every one of those other painters, still to this day, look up to all of them. But for me, after that episode, the more I thought about it, and the other thing I guess I mentioned in that episode was the intimidation factor. And I think that's huge for a lot of people thinking about getting into painting, is the doubt and just being intimidated by the process, right? Like, how does it even work? How do you make a bait something someone else is going to want to buy, right? And whether that's realism, whether that is really sort of abstract type stuff, whatever it is, how do you do that? And so I was incredibly intimidated by the process to begin with, and therefore thought that, I couldn't do that. But then the other part of it is from a business standpoint. And I think that was really, the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was, when you're trying to sell baits and you think of all the other expenses, bringing in taxes and excise taxes and all these other sorts of things, and then you're paying someone else, $30 a bait or whatever, it starts to cut into that. Now that's not to say that I'm not going to pay other people to paint baits, because I will do that. But if I could paint some myself, then, there's a little bit less that you're giving away, so to speak, right? And so from a business standpoint, that was really the main reason. And I was curious if I could do it. And so, like you said, Jesse, I reached out to you, asked you for some input. I reached out to, some other painters I know. I reached out to Floyd. I reached out to Peyton, to Austin Brown, and just asked questions of okay, what airbrush do I need to get? What, do I need to spend this much on this certain thinner or this certain airbrush cleaner, and what compressor and all this sort of stuff? And when it all came down to it, I was like, you know what? Let's just like I did with bait making, I was like, let's try it, just see what happens. And that was really the start of it. And then I guess in terms of input, I mean, I have looked, well, let me back up. I have, whenever I see a bait that I really like, or a paint job that I really like, I will save that picture on my phone and stare at it and try to figure out, like, how do you lay down paint, in what order, in what colors, to emulate that, right? Or look at a picture, just do a Google search, find a picture of a gizzard shad or whatever, a bluegill or whatever it might be, and just try to think about how you would lay down that paint. Because in reality, when you're laying down the paint, and I realize this in looking at these, is the color you see, you almost have to lay it down backwards to achieve, at least something close to the effect that you're looking for. And so I just kind of went into it with sort of a throw caution to the wind. Let's try it. I mean, the worst, at the end of the day, worst case scenario is I waste money and I keep sending them off to other people to paint. So it's not like a reasonable investment. I mean, really,
and you just get to keep you just get to keep some baits anyway.
Right. I mean, at the end of the
the
day,
ones that didn't come out great, you just have extra baits.
Right.
And they'll
Just
still
extra
catch
bait,
fish.
and I'll fish them, And so, yeah. And I also, like a lot of us who build baits, I mean, you've probably got a box full of duds, that are just sitting in the corner. And luckily, a lot of those duds I just kept in a box. And so those were my practice baits.
See, you know what I find interesting? I feel like a lot of people start the other way around, though. Painting first and then work their way into designing baits. So I think it's cool. You flipped it. You're like, you really enjoyed the design process, and then your natural progression is, now let's learn painting baits. So I think that's
I mean, it's been fun, and I certainly realized that I really enjoy sitting in the paint booth and painting. I mean, it takes a lot of time. And I mean, I don't have the throughput of baits where I'm trying to paint, hundreds of them or anything like that. Right. I mean, we're talking, you build a batch of 10 baits, right? I mean, and that's an intimidating number to sit down and paint in an evening.
Still takes a lot of work.
It's more than I do in an evening.
Even 10.
Well,
especially
but I mean,
some bigger baits.
Well, that's fair. But I mean, if you're doing the same pattern, right? Then you can line them up and just do one color and then come back and do the next and then do the next, and at least hopefully remain reasonably consistent.
Yeah. You've got the attention span for that. I don't. The most I ever do of the same is at the same time as 2, because I get bored by the third one. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to make this anymore. So kudos to you for having the patience and the attention span to keep that up.
Yeah, I tried to do like 8 of them, one color, because I got this little Lazy Susan thing that I stick the things on, and it has 8. So it kind of like works perfectly. Like, that's just a good number. Because I'm the same way. Right. I mean, I could do a little more than 2, Jesse, but definitely after 10 or something, I'm like, all right, this is too much of this color. Yeah. Now it's starting to look funny. Like, you just get tired of it as you're doing it, and they get a little more off, and you're like, I need to do something different.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I would certainly agree with that. I mean, like, at one time, I've realized 5 is, like, if I'm doing one pattern, I do 5 of that pattern. If I have 10 of that pattern to do, I'll do 5 one day, and then I'll come back later, and then I'll do the next 5.
That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
I did 3 one time.
That's it, huh?
Nope. That's it. And I realize, I fully admit, for efficiency's sake, doing a large batch of the same color it's the right way to do it. Like, I'm not saying my way of doing anything is never the right way.
Right.
But like, I have to, I do this because I love it. And so I have to play to my own quirks and flaws. to keep loving it. So I'm like, two is the max. Two and I'm done.
But if 2 is the max and you're going to do your best on those 2, then that's the way to do it, right?
That's the point. Yeah, that's I guess where I'm trying to go with that is like I want to pour everything into those 2 baits.
Right.
And
For
not
sure.
why for me, again, this doesn't apply to everybody. This is just me and being an idiot, but like why half-ass 2 things when you can whole-ass 1 thing, right? Like it's
Right.
I think that's a Ron Swanson quote. Anyway, enough about me. At what point did you realize that, or did you realize, I guess, I don't know if you feel this way or not, but how do you feel like paint rates against the actual bait itself, like designing the bait itself? How do you feel like obviously I'm not the bait has to work, right? It has to be a good bait.
Sure,
but do you feel like paint is equally as important, less important?
To me? So, I mean, we're building baits to sell, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if I'm building a bait for me, since I've started painting, I want to fish a bait. Now, I fish blanks. I fish just straight bone blanks like a lot of us do. But I personally want to feel like that bait looks like a fish, right? And so a well-painted bait gives me personally more confidence. Now, does that mean that it's going to catch more fish than one that your rattle can, with just freaking white or bone or whatever and put a black stripe down its back or whatever? It may not, but there's so much in fishing that has to do with confidence, right? And a bone bait will catch a lot of fish for someone who has a ton of confidence in bone. A painted bait, like a bluegill, a really fine scale bluegill that looks real in the water, to our eye, will catch just as many fish for somebody who really likes that realism. One that, someone who really is into more abstract colors. I mean, like, think about the pattern fire tiger, right? I mean, how more abstract and bright and obnoxious can a bait get? But that works up north and that works in certain situations. And so I think a lot of it is confidence. And so it's hard to answer the question of how much does it matter per se, because I think it depends on the angler. And certain people really, really, really swear on bone and just straight up resin blanks. And other people swear, and I mean, it's got to be real. And it could be the water that they fish. I mean, a lot of the water that I fish in Arkansas, it's stained to tannic, and, whether something looks like a gizzard shad to a T or whether it's bright and cruising through the water as a resin blank, I mean, the resin blank may actually catch more just because it's visible, And so I think, I mean, it's a tough question to answer, right? And I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion, and it's a good question because of that. But for me, I tend, and I think it's reflected in the paint schemes that I've kind of gravitated towards, is I have realized that I really gravitate towards realism.
Yeah, a lot of us do.
Yeah,
I know that's where and as you paint for longer, you're because that's the way I was when I first started painting too. I was like, I want to make this look as real as I possibly can. And now, a couple years later, I love painting wacky stuff. Like I love just painting stuff that there's no fish in existence that looks like this at all. Not even close. Not in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean is there a fish that looks like this. But I love it. Right. And I still like doing the real stuff too. So you may, obviously we're 2 different people, but we're both bald with beards. So
there you go.
And we're both in the middle, stuck landlocked in the middle of the country. So maybe you'll gravitate towards some more weird stuff in the future.
Yeah, maybe so.
I'll look forward to seeing that. But when you were learning to paint, what was your biggest resource? Was it trial and error? Was it YouTube? Was it asking people for advice? A combination of all of it?
100% honesty. I asked, I'm trying to think, so I'm not lying here. I interacted with 2 people about painting. Nothing really about hardcore technique with the exception of scales. But I talked to Peyton Stumpf a little bit about some things. And, I mean, Peyton's, at the top of the game. And he didn't share any trade secrets per se or anything else with me. But I did reach out to Austin Brown. After I got the airbrush and I sat down with a blank, and I knew, I was aware of, different materials and things for, scale patterns and whatnot. And I had some. And so I screwed around with it a little bit, and the bait was fine. It wasn't great, but it looked fine. And there's no doubt, could have caught fish on it. But I reached out to Austin. I was like, okay, just walk me through, if you're willing, walk me through a little bit of input on some realistic scale patterns. Like how, are you using multiple colors? Are you laying them down in a certain way? And he goes, dude, he goes, let's FaceTime right now. I was like, okay. And so we FaceTimed. He grabbed the tail of a Giff Glide that he had just laying by him. He fired up his airbrush, and he just on FaceTime said, this is what I do, and did it. He goes, I do this color, I do that color, and then I lay it down like this. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll try that. And while he was talking, I took a few notes, and then I hung up the phone and I sat down and I tried it, and it worked. And, I don't know. And there's no other explanation beyond that. I mean, I was able to lay down a pattern following a little bit of instruction, and the scales worked, and I felt like it looked pretty good, and then since then, I've kind of refined it a little bit. And then it really, what I've learned in the brief time I've been doing it, it all comes down to angles and flow control on your paint, and I've screwed up so many baits and then have to go back to, okay, how can I cover that one up? Right. And you sit there and rack your brain trying to think about how you can cover up a gill plate that you've just put scales all over. You put something else all over, you overspray orange that you're trying to put on the chin, and then it's all up on the cheeks. It's like, well, I should have done that in a different order, and it's just trial and error at that point, really, learning how the order to lay down the colors and laying them down thinly. Right. And having the patience enough to just go over it multiple times until you get, the saturation or intensity that you want.
That's a good tip, because I had a heavy hand at first. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, this needs to be red. Whole bait's red.
It's all red now.
How did the whole thing end up red?
Yeah. Yeah. And then not only that, just learning, like, I mean, you can have just a handful of colors, but the order in which you lay them down, you end up with so many different hues and so many, like when you lay down, and actually, Jesse, I think I, kind of texted you about this not long ago. I was screwing around with one, just kind of freestyling on a bait, and I laid down a gold color, and then I put another color on top, and it was like, hey, who knew when you put these two together, you get this color? Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's just trial and error. Right. And the color I ended up with was one I already had in a bottle. Right. But the hue, it was just a slightly off hue of the one that you've got in a bottle. Right. And so it's a little bit of a unique color. And it's just really being willing to screw up. Right. I think so many people, and a lot of us, I think if you build baits, if you, a lot of people would describe themselves as being perfectionists, right? And none of us are ever going to be perfect, right? But the biggest thing is you've got to be willing to screw up. And you got to let yourself screw up. You're never going to be perfect from the start, and you're never going to be perfect ever. But some of your screw ups turn into really cool stuff. And then it's trying to remember how in the hell you did that, right?
I
mean, because that's the other thing. Right. That's the other thing I've realized over time, this brief period of time, is I don't take good notes. I don't have a recipe of what pattern this is and which color I laid down first and everything else. I should be more diligent about that. But kind of by being more freewheeling, I've I've allowed myself to do things I wouldn't have otherwise tried. Right. And it's been more fun by doing it that way.
Definitely. I do have one amendment to make to your statement. None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
Trevor is. So he was born with an airbrush in his hand and has been able to lay down paint perfectly his entire existence. So I just want to clarify that for everybody watching at home. No, nobody's perfect except for Trevor.
No, Trevor. Do you have recipes for your paint jobs? Like, I feel like it comes with that artistic background. You can repeat a paint job.
Some stuff I kind of have a recipe. Most stuff, like when people are like, hey, I want you to do this, I have to go back and then like dissect my own paint scheme. You know what I mean? Because like when I start painting, I'd start mixing a lot of stuff, and like the vast majority of what I paint, unless I'm doing like for other people, they're like got one off colors in it. You know what I mean? Like I'll get close again, but you're never going to get truly what I did the first time, because like I just get into it and they may all look similar, but if you're really looking at them, they're really not.
Yeah.
So I don't have a recipe. Sorry, Matt.
No. That was cool. It's really cool that you say that, because when I've talked to Peyton Stumpf about it, that's his take on it too. Is Peyton's deal is he can, like when he sits down to paint, like he'll be doing a massive batch for KGB, and there's a handful of patterns that he does for KGB over and over and over again that he knows, nailed down everything else. But if you, Trevor, were to send him baits and ask him for a thread fin pattern, and then Jesse, you did the same, and I did the same, each one of them is going to be different. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be the same. Because, I mean, number one, he doesn't want to do them the same, and he wants that creative freedom just to, hey, what's he feeling at that point? You know, and just lays it down. And if you ask for a custom from Peyton, and you may have seen another bait that somebody else had, he always, his first statement to them is, the one you get isn't going to be exactly like that. It may be close, but that's just not how I do it. You know, that's just not his system. And I've kind of, that resonates with me, right? Just to sort of, what are you feeling at that point? And just start, grab this color. I think I want to do this one, and this one, and just start laying them down.
Yeah. Well, and Trevor's right too. Like you're in the middle of it and you're trying to be creative, and it's like, I'm not going to write down how many drops of this and how many drops of that it took to make that color. I'm going to add colors until it looks like the color I want it to be. And then 5 minutes later, I have no idea how I made it, which you do run into trouble with that if you like need more of it in the same session.
That's
but
fair.
you at least they probably still, like, the bottles are still sitting on your bench there, and you can piece it back together. But like going back to it, you don't, I mean, I don't take notes, period. So like, I'm not writing down how many drops of black I added to this blue to make it a little darker. I just added until it looked right. And then I have no idea how many drops were in it. So yeah, that makes sense. Right. Like what you're saying, what Peyton said, and what Trevor said, that's like, it stifles the creativity of the process, which is the enjoyable part. So that makes sense. But speaking of artistic background, like you're a humble person and you don't like to brag on yourself. I know this about you, but you picked up painting way faster than pretty much anybody I've ever seen. Not that I have like a Rolodex of 100,000 people that paint, but like the time that I've been in this space, like you picked up painting way faster than I did. I can't speak for these other two guys, but way faster than I did, like to make it look good.
Don't know how to.
Yes, you do. Shut up. But do you have any sort of artistic background or anything like that you feel, or what do you feel contributed to you being able to pick it up so fast? Do you know, or is it just luck, or?
I really don't know. I mean, to get a little nerdy, I mean, I feel from a philosophical standpoint, I feel science and art are really tightly intertwined. And so maybe there's something there with, whatever side of the brain, is like uber analytical, that maybe that's part of it, but I really don't know. I mean, I feel like that at the end of the day, like I said earlier, and I guess this was advice that Austin had mentioned to me, was when you go to lay down the paint, lay it down thin, right? And any YouTube video, and I did watch some YouTube videos just on technique and things like that. And everybody that you watch or whatever, they talk about just laying down the paint as thinly as possible. Now, I have not mastered like thinning paint, right? And I have, not thinned it enough. And you're like, God, why isn't it coming out? And you get this blob of paint that splats on your bait, right? But, to answer the question, I don't know. It was something, I guess it was a talent that was there that I was intimidated by the process, like I said, and I was afraid to try it. And once I did, I realized that I have an aptitude for at least a certain style of painting, and that will evolve over time. And I'll get maybe a little more adventurous than what I've done so far. But I mean, the handful of techniques that I've learned a little bit, I feel like I've gotten fairly good at it, right? And a lot of my paints, as I look at them, I was like, yeah, okay, that's just the same general paint job, but a different pattern or a different color, right? And that's kind of where I am at this point. There's like one thing that I think I do fairly well, and the next steps are kind of expanding on that, right? Like trying, striping patterns and other sorts of things that I've not really tried yet. Like you were talking about mixing paint. I haven't mixed a single paint yet.
You should try it. It's fun.
That terrifies me.
Really?
I mean, of just like mixing paint to come up with some color. And then I was like, well, how am I, like you were saying, it was like, how the hell am I going to do that again? Like,
don't worry
how am I
about
gonna make that color again? But I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? You just mix it till it looks close and just rock and roll.
Yeah,
everything's a one-off.
Yeah, you want a specific blue, you mix it until you get that specific blue, and that specific blue that you want may be different from day to day. So it's like, even though you're doing something similar on the bait, it's like maybe it's a little lighter this time, maybe it's a little darker next time, maybe it's got a little more green in it this time. Yeah. It's just the worst case scenario. You're out, you waste a few drops of paint. So
right.
It's it's a lot of fun. You should try it for sure.
What do you mean waste?
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, if you mix, you're perfect. So I've not. I can't speak for you.
Trevor,
but I have been in scenarios where I'm like, I keep adding, trying to make it right, and I'm like, I've got a little. I use little medicine cups, and it's almost full of paint, and I'm like, it's way more paint than I would ever need, and it's the wrong color, and I'm just like, forget it. So
like that's just it's like that's just brown again. It's like, what's my problem?
I mean, if it's a cool color, no, I use it. But if it's not, if it's something that's just like a poopy brown, no, I'm like, that's not what I was going for. Sometimes poopy brown is necessary, especially when you're painting realistic stuff. But like, yeah, I've thrown entire cups of paint away before.
Trevor's he's having a grabber.
My heart. It's the big one. I'm sorry to say it. But yes, it has happened. Not frequently. It's not happened a lot. I can usually get there. I usually just have way too much of it.
I've done it too. Plenty of times.
It's not the end of the world. It's just it's just a few drops of paint. That's all it is.
All right.
Maybe 6 different paints, but potato, tomato. Anyway. So as someone that's fairly new to painting, that picked it up fairly quickly, if you had to give any tips or tricks or advice to someone that's starting out, what would you tell them? Since it's still fresh.
Right. Just F around and find out. I mean, at the end of the day, right? I mean, just try it. Because there's, just like fishing, there's no substitute for time on the water, right? So for painting, there's no substitute for time in the booth. I mean, it's just try stuff. If there's someone who paints in a style that resonates with you, now, obviously, you don't want to copy someone's paint or whatever, and eventually you'll develop whatever style it is that just is your style. But just try it. Just get an airbrush. It doesn't have to be the best airbrush in the world. I paint with an Iwata, with an Eclipse, which isn't top of the line, but it's a really good airbrush. But there's plenty of other Amazon airbrushes and other things that will do the job. And so if you want to try it, if you want to get into it, just buy an airbrush, buy a cheap compressor, and then just mess around. And then the other thing is, like I said before, is just learn how to lay paint down thinly. And when you look at an image, whether it's, a live image, an image of a live animal, a live fish, or whether it's, a paint job that someone else laid down, is if you can sort of try to envision that backwards, right? Because you got to lay the base colors first and then build out. And if you can envision that in your mind, then it becomes a whole lot more straightforward. Doesn't mean you're not going to mess up, right? But
yeah,
and I guess that's the other thing is, have the attitude that you're going to mess up and that messing up is okay, and just move on to the next one.
There are no mistakes, only happy accidents.
Right. Yeah.
I would argue with some of the accidents that I've had have not been happy whenever it comes to
no, I've
had
plenty that aren't happy.
Yeah. But I got to ask this question to the group real quick. Has anybody else ever filled their cup on their brush with paint and then moved too fast and just spilled that color all over your bait? Has anybody else done that? Because I don't ever put the lid back on.
Yeah, the other day.
Lid.
Like
just like you move, or you're going back and forth too fast and it just sloshes out.
I haven't done that yet.
I do that at least once a week.
Let me tell you what happens.
I get it on myself.
I don't put enough paint in the cup to do that.
Jesse, I'm with you. I had everything in front of me and I mixed it in my cup. The color was right. And I'm like, I don't want to take the baits off the thing. So I'm just going to shoot because they were all angled properly. So I'm like, I just want a little highlight of black down the back. Dumped it right on the bait. The bait just ended up black in the end. I'm like, that's literally the one that it happened on. I'm like, it's just going to end up more black or an all black bait. And that one's mine. Yes. And then I tried to find the freaking cap and I don't know where the cap was. So I had one, but it was the wrong size. So I'm like, I guess I'll move them and do it.
Maybe it's going to happen at some point because I don't ever paint with the cap on.
Yeah, mine always happens with metallics because I always have to, I always misjudge how much I have to thin a metallic, especially specifically like Createx metallic or pearlized. Like it takes more thinning than just your non-metallic or non-pearlized paint. Like it takes more thinner. And so I always put too much paint in the cup and I make a lot of it because I have to add so much thinner to get it to the right consistency to where my brush will shoot it. And then I'm like, I'll just put it all in there in case I need it. And then it's whenever I'm over the bait, it's laying on its side. I've got my scale mesh over it and I'm going to do the scales. And it just slosh right all. I have 4 or 5 probes that are sitting like up on my top shelf of my workbench where I've done that. I'm like, I'll clear coat them and use them myself someday. But it's just different pieces of probes that are but that's what always happened. I was just wondering if it happened to anybody else. So
I feel like we need to invent something. You got my mind going now. There's got to be a way to make it so you don't have to put the cap on, but it also can't spill. I'm going to think about it.
You're the designer of the group, so we'll let you.
So something other than a lid.
Yeah.
A lid, but not a lid.
Maybe a flip-up lid would be cool.
Yeah. A lid, but different. That's what I'm saying. Something like you don't have to. We'll figure
I want to hit us up. Sponsorship.
Do it.
For your idea.
Do it like you would take the medicine out of a glass bottle with a syringe. You know what I mean? Like you could put your ink into it.
That's what I was thinking.
And then you take it out and it automatically closes back up magically.
Like the infant Tylenol. Listen, why is this so far away?
Yes.
The infant Tylenol, you gotta.
Yes.
And it can't spill.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
But I mix in my cup, so that won't work.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
You're like a psychopath.
And I'm only making it for me and if anyone else likes it, so.
I'm going to give you guys all a pro tip. Reduce it in its bottle.
I do that whenever it gets down below half. I'll
from the gate. As soon as you open your lid, add some reducer to it. Shake it up. It's not going to be where you need it, but before you hit 1/6 of the bottle used, you'll be where you want, and then the rest of the bottle is going to be smooth sailing.
Ready to shoot. That makes sense.
It's a great point. If I mess it up,
that is a great point.
How do I go back?
Then you have a spare bottle, and you add more paint to it to thicken it.
You can always go
Trevor's
back.
Trevor's genius.
He is. He's
How
perfect.
do you
I told
stop?
You know,
Perfection.
no, there is no perfection here. I
How
mess
do you-
up a lot daily.
How do you
often.
stop the
I'm gonna
top
mess
from
up
getting
today.
crusty? How do you
I
stop the
pick it
top
off
from
when it
getting
dries.
crusty? So much
I
work.
pick it off when it dries,
Right. Right.
Nobody has time
Yeah,
for that.
or I wipe it
You ever-
off.
You ever close it and it shoots
Yep.
paint on the baits?
I've had that happen more than I'd like to admit.
It always happens with my primer because I use my white primer late at the end of my process, like as a, a highlight, low light, whatever you'd call it. Like I go random with some black, but the primer is a nice matte white. So I use that. But then when I close the lid, it's like, because it's so thin, it's like, and then it's just like, there's white drops on one of them.
You
And
got
I'm
some
like,
speckles on your.
That one just has speckles.
It's
It's
character.
a feature. It's a feature, not a
Yeah.
flaw.
yeah.
Exactly. Is there one specific technique in painting? This is my last painting question, then we'll move on. But is there one specific technique that you feel like is the most valuable that you've learned so far? If you're
Haven't
willing to
learned that.
share, I don't want to.
Yeah, no. It's cool. I just haven't learned that many, to be quite honest. No, I mean honestly, no. There's not one specific one that stands out. I mean, I think more than anything, the technique side of things for me so far would be sort of the technique of laying down scales, and by no means am I perfect at it, but making realistic scales, that technique is probably the one that's been most valuable to me at this point.
Yeah, figuring out how to make a gradient and
Yeah.
Things
And,
like
you
that.
know, like how many colors and which colors, and, you know, the bright color needs to be where
8
and the darker
o'clock.
color where, and is it, and I mean, right now, because I paint so relatively few baits, I still wrap all of my baits. I don't lay it down flat with the mesh over them or anything else. I wrap all of them still. And I mean, you know, as I do more, I will probably get away from that, but that's just what works for me, and at least the way I do it. And so, like when you're talking about spilling, you know, paint and everything, well, I don't spill paint because I lift my bait up and I paint it this way. I don't go down to the bait. You know what I mean? And so if you have the bait laying flat, well, yeah, then you're going to tip it up and, you know, run the risk of spilling. But for me, I lift the bait to the paint. So
I had a question that I've been holding in, and this is the perfect time to ask it.
go for it.
Do you see like random stuff and think that would make for a good scale stencil? Just like
100%.
I feel like once I started like using loofah
That's
or
what I
like
use for Windows
Yeah.
screen
Or-
loofah. That's my use.
or
Yep.
the stuff that you use to make a the little princess thing.
The veil or
tool.
whatever. Yeah.
Tool,
Yeah,
the tool stuff. Yeah, but then like for a while, I would see random stuff like my wife about to throw out, and I'm like, whoa.
Hold on a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
I see it.
And actually,
I see a pattern in that, but then I kind of like stop doing it because I eventually get like a drawer of just like garbage.
random stuff.
Like, why
Yeah,
do I have a drawer of garbage?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that actually makes killer scales, you just can't get enough of it, is, so if you're just doing a one-off, it is fantastic. And it is at Walmart, the mesh bag that shallots come in.
The onion
Is-
bags.
It's incredible. I mean, it's just thick enough, and the mesh is just the right size that it makes killer scales.
I'll
But
have to go get some shallots.
You
but
go to
I mean,
your family's
just get
house
one bag
or a
of it
friend's
and you have,
house.
you know, yeah.
You gonna keep this bag? And they're like, yeah, my onions are in that. And you're like, but you don't need the bag, right? Can I have the bag? You
I'm not
already
taking your
took them
onions. This
home.
is just your bag.
Yep. But the shallot
Like,
bag
all
is
right.
fantastic.
I have to. I never buy shallots.
Yeah.
I'm not that fancy, but
Yeah, well, we usually don't either. We did one time. We were, my daughters and my wife wanted to make some Greek inspired food or whatever, and so we had a few recipes and it called for shallots, and we're like, okay, cool. So we bought some shallots, and then when they came home, I was like, oh,
That would be fantastic.
I need your shallot bag, please. Thank you. That's awesome. I'll have to run to Walmart after we're done here and get some shallots, because I like the loofah. It's just the scales end up being a little big for a lot of the baits that I do.
Yeah.
And the tool is not thick enough, like you were saying. So I mean, thanks for the tip there. I appreciate that. I'm always looking for good material there. But right now, what we're going to do is take a little break to hear from somebody who actually has the time to go fishing. And that's Jovan from The Real Bass Pursuit with this week's RBP's Pick of the Week.
What's going on, guys? Jovan here with The Real Bass Pursuit, and welcome back to the RBP's Pick of the Week. Now, we're officially in that big fish window. The water's warming up, the days are getting longer, and those giants are starting to look for a place to bed. If you want to put a limit, whether on the bank or on the boat, you need something that can go exactly where they're hiding. That's why for this week's RBP's Pick of the Week, we're playing with the Texas rig. The Texas rig is going to be that all-terrain setup. Whether you're dealing with early spring hydrilla laydowns or those cypress trees, this rig is 100% weedless. There's three things that's unique about this rig: the precision, the fall, and the versatility. Unlike a crankbait that you're fishing right past the fish, the Texas rig is going to allow you to drop that bait right on their head. As for the fall, that signature bullet weight is also going to give you that natural dying flutter look that just these bass can't resist. And as for the versatility, you can go from a 10-inch ribbon-tail worm for those aggressive pre-spawn bass to a small creature bait or even a crawl to get those finicky bites during those cold fronts. Now, why now in the month of March? Bass are going to be moving out of that deeper area and stopping at those secondary points in those staging areas. A Texas rig is going to allow you to slow down and pick those transition spots apart. They're not always going to be hungry, but they're going to be angry, and dropping a Texas rig right across their bed is like ringing the doorbell. They're going to come out and they're either going to crush that bait or move it off their bed, but either way, you've made contact. And last but not least is that cold front insurance. March is famous for those nasty spring cold fronts. When these bass begin to tuck into those thick parts of cover to stay warm, that Texas rig is the only thing that's going to be able to get them out of there. Once again, my name is Jovan with The Real Bass Pursuit, and this here was your RBP's Pick of the Week. Now back to the Bait Boys podcast.
That was your RBP's Pick of the Week. Make sure you're following Jovan at The Real Bass Pursuit on all social media. Thank you, Jovan, for hooking us up with all of those tips and tricks here at the Bait Boys podcast. We really appreciate it. So yeah, go down and make sure that you're following Jovan at all the links in the description.
Go follow Jovan.
Go follow Jovan.
I don't know why
he does this for free. We don't pay him for it. We don't pay him for it. He's just doing it. He's doing it to be a buddy to the podcast, and we greatly appreciate it. And he's so cool. He's just such a cool dude. So
seriously, I'm jealous.
Yeah. But enough about Jovan. We're happy that he's so cool. But enough about Jovan. Let's talk about another cool dude that we happen to know and who's been on frequently, and that's Matt. If you're just joining us, I don't know why you would do that. It's on YouTube. Or maybe you're watching the live and you're just joining us. We've got Matt from Giff Glidez here hanging out with us, a.k.a. Dr. Glidez, a.k.a. Professor Glidez. But yeah, so we've been talking about painting up until this point, and that's been most of our conversation here, but we want to kind of shift topics here. Maybe this is a little bit selfishly for the three of us, because you've had some experiences this year that none of us that I know of have had. Am I correct in that when we're talking about going to shows as a vendor?
Did you go this year, Trev?
I went to Boston Angler's booth for the New England Expo for a day and helped him out. And then this past weekend we did a local show.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So that counts. So Trevor's not a noob anymore, just Anthony and I, but you've hit a couple of shows as a vendor this year. So what went into preparing for your first show? What was that like?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know. There's not, I mean, it's just building baits, right? I mean, you just think about perhaps the region of the country that you're going to and which baits might be popular there. And then, perhaps color patterns and things that may play for the folks in that region. And so the show I did was the East Tennessee Fishing Show. And last year I went and got my first taste of that show, not as a vendor at all, but a good friend of mine, Danny Arballo with Brazalo Custom Lures. He has had a booth there for the last several years, and he lives, in my town. I mean, his shop is, maybe 5 miles from the house, and so Danny and I have become really close. And I went with him I guess it would have been the 2025 show. and just to see what it was all about, because I had, at that point I was really considering getting into the swim bait game, more heavily. And I thought, at some point it might be cool to do one of the shows. So I wanted to see what it was all about. And it was cool. I mean, from the vendor side of things, it's stressful. It's very different than, just kind of posting on social media and selling online and interacting with folks, via social media, but it's a really cool experience. And so, in terms of what I did for preparation is I just kind of looked at the catalog of baits that I have and tried to figure out, I guess at the outset, how many baits do I want to bring, right? Because I mean, there's at these Tennessee show, there were several swim bait builders there. I mean, there was Clutch, there was Buka was there, Clutch was there. What's the Fish Everything was there. So Vic with Fish Everything. Perco was there.
Shout out Dennis.
Yep, Dennis was there, and I got to meet him. Super, super cool dude. Dang it, I just had the name Giff Glidez out of Kansas. They were there.
Yep.
Or no, not Kansas, Oklahoma, or no, North Carolina. They were there. And so there were lots of swim bait builders there. And so it was cool, to meet all those guys and everything else, but to be there as a vendor, it was cool. It was interesting. I mean, it was neat to see, at least for me, the handful of folks who had heard of the name before, right? Because as you're on this side doing stuff through social media and everything else, and you post and you get X number of likes or whatever it might be, I mean, you have no idea what your reach is, but there you get a much better feeling, and there were a handful of folks who came to get a Giff Glidez bait, which was really cool. I mean, that was 100% unexpected, but it was super, super neat to meet those folks. And, a couple of them asked for a picture and you're like, really? Like, you want to?
That's cool.
Hey, but that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that's not, I mean, yeah, okay, you want to get a picture with Mike Buka, right? Mike Buka's a giant in this game. Right? Or with, Josh from Clutch, yeah, of course you want to get a picture with Josh, right? I would too. Right. But it's, it was cool. It was a really neat experience. And I mean, I took way too many baits, but we were also this year in Tennessee, that was also when that massive winter storm came through. And so the attendance was like, 30, at best 40% of what it normally is. And so, I mean, to go to sell some baits, come out in the black on the whole trip, I mean, it was a success. And you get to go and actually get your brand and name out in front of people that may not have otherwise known who you are. So it was cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
What do you feel like was the biggest thing that you took away from that? Like, what learning experience? He asked the professor, turning the tables. What did you learn?
Yeah, right. I think, honestly, it's hard to answer because I think by going that first year and working the booth with my buddy, that was kind of the learning experience. And so going in this year as a vendor, I kind of knew what to expect. Right. And the biggest thing in watching him is be interactive. Right. I mean, talk to people. Like being a salesperson does not come naturally for me. I don't like to, I don't want to bullshit people. Right. And I don't want to like talk up something. And I feel like even if I believe 8,000% in my bait, I feel weird telling somebody else that this is the best bait in the world. Right. And that's just me, my personality. It's just who I am. I mean, I like to be honest with folks like, hey, this is a good bait. It catches fish. Here's proof that it catches fish. There you go. Yeah. And, I'll shake your hand.
For what it is.
Right. I mean, I'll shake your hand. We'll chit chat. We'll talk about swim baits. We'll talk just about fishing. Right. And I think that was the coolest part, the coolest interactions that I had. And I guess this is probably the best thing about it that I didn't expect going in. And it was a consequence of the poor attendance is I got time to chit chat with other vendors. Right. And the biggest, perhaps the coolest one was talking with Mike Bucca. So, I mean, his booth, well, my booth was here and there was an aisle here. On the next aisle, his was almost directly behind me on the same side of the aisle that mine was, but he was right behind me. And I remember on Sunday, super low attendance on Sunday, last day of the show. And I was out standing next to my booth and Mike just came walking around the corner and we just started chatting, right? And just started chit chatting. And we sat there and chit chatted for an hour and a half, just about bait building, about, different techniques, about making molds, about he was asking me questions about 3D printing, and pouring platinum silicone in 3D prints. Anthony, we've had lots of conversations fairly recently about that. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the one of the coolest things about the whole process. I mean, because the guy, Danny, whose booth was directly across the aisle from me, who I went to the show with the previous year, Clutch is right behind them. And so he knows Josh from Clutch very well. And so I went to dinner a few times with all the guys from Clutch, and they're a super cool bunch of dudes. And yeah, it was just neat kind of meeting the others in the industry that you just either know because you see their social media, or you may interact with them to some degree on social media. And so it was cool to put faces to names and brands to faces and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Did anything surprise you as far as the experience went? I know you said you got to get your crash course the year before, but was there anything that, as a vendor, when you showed up, that surprised you? Other than the storm and everything being crazy like that.
Right.
General terms.
Yeah, no, I guess maybe the most surprising thing is how cool everybody was. There's aspects of the business, no matter what business you're in, but certainly in the fishing industry, that's pretty cutthroat. But even the guys, all of us here make a glide bait, right? I mean, if you talk about swim baits, the most popular swim bait is a glide bait, right? And so all of these guys, well, I mean, Jesse, I think that's
I say that just because they're a pain to make.
No, I agree.
They're a pain to make.
But maybe even for other reasons, right? But I mean, I agree with you. But we're all, in that sense, competitors, right? Because I mean, the main glide bait that I make, okay, so the 7.5 inch or whatever just came out this year, but the main glide bait I make is a 5.5 inch glide bait. Well, Clutch just dropped the Micro Boss, right? 5.5 inch glide bait. Bucca makes a 5 inch glide bait. York makes a 5 inch glide bait. Vic from Fish Everything, he doesn't make a 5.5 inch, makes a 6, right? And so everybody's in the same arena and competing with one another, but they're all really cool people, right? And they came around, they look at your baits, and like, wow, this is a really cool bait, or hey, this one's really cool. Hey, this neat take you took on this one. And so that maybe was the most surprising thing, is just how cool everybody was.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, on paper, we're all competitors, because I also make a 5.25 inch glide bait. Like but like going back to our earlier conversation, everybody has a different style. Like everybody has a different approach to it, and it's kind of whatever speaks to the customer. And obviously there are people out there that buy glide baits from everybody just because they love glide baits. Right. 100%. So I look at it less as a competition and more as there's a healthy market, there's a healthy customer base, and there's room for everybody. That's it's great to hear that some of those guys are cool in person, because you get one personality online and then and that's it. Yeah. But I would imagine meeting some of those people in person would be and meeting Mike Bucca would be surreal to begin with. He's a literal legend, but
he really is. And I mean, he's not only a legend in the business, right? I mean, he's one of the old dogs, like had been in it for 17 years or something like that, right? Been doing it for a long, long time. But yeah, he's just a really down to earth, cool dude. And I enjoyed the hell out of, the conversation with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You touched on this just a little bit. Oh, sorry. Did you have a question, Anthony?
No,
I was going to say the inhale.
I was going to say, I wanted to reach out to Mike Bucca to be like on a guest one day. And then I was watching something and he was saying about how he's like deaf in one ear and like 70% in the other. And he's like, talking on a phone or something, he's has trouble doing, but texting, he's an animal at or something. And I was like, oh, damn. How you gonna be
I mean, my understanding, I mean, I know, he does a lot of lip reading, and that's, a consequence of the hearing that he has. But yeah, I mean, in person, talking to him, and I saw the same post, that he made about all that. And so I don't know. I mean, he may be willing to do it, but perhaps it could cause some difficulties for him.
Well, I'm sure he's out there watching right now. So
so if you
Mike,
want to be on,
we'll figure it out.
We'd love to have you on.
I will message him and say, we talked a lot about you.
I should do it. I think it's funny because, he has been in the game for so long, and he's like, if you make swim baits, you know who he is, or if you fish swim baits, whatever. But if you go on Facebook in any type of like group about making baits, not even just like the big, swim bait groups, like even just like 3D printing groups or like groups about a test tank, he's in all of them asking questions like a normal, like he's just humble. He just is like trying to figure it out like the rest of us.
And I mean, he wants to, he is what I've, I guess, realized about Mike is he's not a dinosaur where he's just gonna kind of, with all the development of technologies and everything else, he wants to know. He wants to learn about it. He wants to incorporate it in his process and in business and everything else, right? If it's going to do something that's going to make him more efficient in what he does, he seems that, he's going to listen and he's going to try to figure out how to do it.
That's cool. That even after 17 years, he's still learning. He's still seeking knowledge. He's still
absolutely.
And doesn't have an ego really like I can't be like publicly asking questions like because I'm like I've been in like I feel like that's a thing a lot of people wouldn't do is like publicly ask a question when you're such like a veteran in any type of thing. So it's cool. I think that's how it should be, We all grow together. Even if you've been in it, like you said, you're always trying to learn something new. Otherwise your business is just gonna eventually get stale.
Right.
Definitely. Well, I know that a lot of the like meeting other makers and other companies and putting faces, or not, you knew the faces probably, but conversations with the faces. Was there any customer interactions that stood out to you?
I mean, other than there was one guy who came and said that he was told to come by my booth and buy a bait for his dad, which was interesting.
That's cool.
There was, there was one. There was, and I think it was on Sunday. There was a kid. He was, God, I mean, the kid had to be no older than 12 or 13, right? Preteen kid, had his fishing jersey on. He was all ate up with fishing, and he was clearly intrigued by the whole swim bait thing and everything else. And he came by once with his parents, and he was looking at the baits and stuff, and then they left, and then he came back, and then he left, and then he came back again. And I was like, okay, like this kid's interested in something. And so I was just like, what's speaking to you, buddy? And, he picked up, one of my little EKGs, a little 5.5 inch glide, and he just kept picking it up and he's flipping it around and everything else. And his mom looked at him and she was like, well, is that the one you want? And he kind of looked up at her and just nodded, yeah. And so his dad, started asking questions about the bait and everything else. So I told him about it. And then his dad looked at him. He's like, you sure that's the one you want? And he said, yeah. And so his dad said, hold on just a minute. His dad had to go out to the truck and grab some cash. And his mom looked at him. She goes, this is your money you're spending. And he said, I know. And they came in with the boy's cash, and kid handed it over to me, and he took home his bait. And so that was really cool. I mean, to see a 13-year-old kid that the third time he came back, he was finally like, yes, this is the one I want. So that was neat.
Yeah, that would stand out for sure.
Yeah.
That made me feel
Love
warm inside.
Yeah.
The tingles.
That was
that
cool.
was cool.
Feel all warm in your jellies. But so how do you whenever it comes to, and again you alluded to this a little bit earlier, like selling in person versus selling online. Do you feel like that in-person connection is helpful? Do you think that it's, because I could see it both ways. Let me tell you where I'm coming from here. That way it'll help explain my question that I'm trying to ask. Because I could see it both ways. I could see it being helpful because you build a connection with the person, you have that face-to-face interaction with them, you're having a good conversation with them. I could also see, that's customer A. I could also see customer B coming up and asking too many questions, not unimportant questions, but just kind of like picking it apart and really what-ifing it to death and possibly talking themselves out of it through that interaction. Like, I've never done it. You've been there.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Do you feel like it helps or it doesn't help or it's both?
Well, 100% you get both, right? So you see both of them. And so, but I think they go hand in hand. I mean, they really do, because I think, and that is something that sort of became clear at the show. And I think part of it depends on maybe which show you go to. And so if you go to the New England show, like you mentioned, Trev, that show is a big swim bait show, right? I mean, Swim Bait Universe is there. The Swim Bait Universe booth always has drops from, some big builders and things like that. And so that is the place to go to get sort of limited drops or whatever of different swim baits. The Tennessee show is a traditional, conventional fishing show, like bass fishing show. There's other shows, from my understanding, the Houston show. I know Tackle Shack, had a booth and everything at the Houston show, but my understanding is the Houston show is often lots of saltwater, which is 100% understandable given its location. But the Tennessee show, it's heavy conventional, even though there's a lot of swim bait builders there. The swim bait builders that are typically there are really well-known swim bait brands. I would venture to guess that Perco and me were the lesser known of the swim bait brands that were there, right? I mean, when you talk about York and Caleb and their brand out in North Carolina, and Buka and Clutch and Vic from Fish Everything, I mean, those are extremely well-known, established brands in the industry. And so a lot of the folks that were going to the East Tennessee show to find swim baits were probably going there for those brands, right? But I think being there, because those other brands were there, you have the opportunity to put your baits in front of them. But then others, they wouldn't. And so I guess there's two sides to it, right? So you either get the benefit potentially, if your baits are good and everything else, of getting those guys to come by your booth and see your baits, but they wouldn't know me unless I had some kind of online social media presence, if that makes sense. And so I think I think they really, really go together. I mean, today, I think you have to have the social media presence, and then you advertise you're going to be there. And if folks who follow you on social media and want to get access to one of your baits, there's an opportunity to get one. And so,
that makes sense.
I mean, I think it's the benefit of the show is the face-to-face, right? Like making the connection, talking to those people, and then potentially also maybe getting some other fans because they saw your baits there when they were there to buy a spinner bait from somebody else,
No, that makes sense. Definitely. Well, is there I feel like I'm repeating myself because I asked the same question about painting, but is there any piece of advice you would give to those of us who are considering doing our first show?
Go do it. One is just give it a shot. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? I mean, depending on the show, booth cost, you got to figure all those things in, and, not only booth cost, but lodging and all that stuff for a 3 or 4 day show, whatever it might be. Well, even for a 3-day show, you're there for 4 days, right? Because setup is day one, and then the show starts, the next day at noon or 1 o'clock, whatever it might be. But do it, give it a shot, go in with realistic expectations. And if you break even on that first show, it's a success because you gain visibility, you gain those sorts of things. If folks interact with you personally and they see your baits like, oh, those baits are kind of cool, but they don't buy them year one, but they thought you were a cool dude and they liked your vibe, they liked whatever it was about you and how you did things. Year two, maybe they come back because they see you're going to be there and they come by and they buy a bait. Right. And so, I mean, it's a cool experience. It's 100% worth it. Jesse, you're nearby. If you want to come out to East Tennessee next year, I'm planning to go. If you want to go and we want to hook up and do a booth, let's do one. I mean, it's, I have no problem splitting up a booth, with you or with somebody else and doing it, I mean, we should be, there's a community in the swim bait scene and I'm all for encouraging that community. And I mean, if you do well, I do well, right? If Anthony does well, if Trev does well, we all do well, right? We're all in the same business together. There's no reason, like you were saying about competition and stuff. Yeah, there's competition. We make a similar bait, right? But somebody may like the style of the probe better than the EKG. They may like the way it fishes better. They may like the way it looks better. Whatever it is that convinces them to buy yours over mine or mine over yours. When they come to the booth, they still see yours if they buy mine. If they come to the booth and buy yours, they still see mine and they still see the other baits that I have or whatever it might be, and so I think it benefits us all.
That's a great point. I'm not ready to commit right this second, but let's talk about it. I don't know if I have the output to keep up with something like that at this point in time, but maybe that I know well.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the output, I mean, you could certainly put together 30 or 40 baits.
Oh yeah, I could do that.
Right.
Between now and January. Right. Yeah, maybe.
Right. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you take 30 baits, right? I mean, a booth cost, at least this last year, the booth cost at the East Tennessee show was $500, $550 for a 10 by 10 booth. I mean, how many baits do you have to sell to cover that, right? I mean, you do the math, whatever that is. I mean, it's not that much, right? But the benefit you get from the interaction, from the visibility and those sorts of things is so much more.
No, that makes sense.
And so
you got the wheels totally turning here.
It's totally worth it.
Sounds like it. But we're going to jump into our lightning round here in just a second. You've already been on, so you've already answered the two questions that we have everybody answer. But before I do that, I want to make sure, Trevor, Anthony, do either of you have any additional questions for Matt before we move forward into the lightning round?
No, silence.
No?
I was trying to think. There was a question, but I can't remember it. So lightning round it is. If it comes back to me, I'll ask it. I'll jump in the lightning round.
That's fair. Just right in the middle of it. Just bam. So the reason we call it the lightning round is because you got to answer quick, right? These are this or that questions that you have to choose from. All right. And first thing that comes to your mind, first instinct is what you're going to go with. Okay. There's no wrong answer, maybe on some of them, but more just preference questions as far as what you'd like, just so everybody can learn a little bit more about what makes Professor Glidez, Dr. Glidez tick. But are you ready? Are you prepared?
Yes.
All right. There's a time limit. Not really. I don't want to go to the trouble of trying to put a clock on the screen. So,
we got the clock.
Yeah, sure. And go. Big swim bait or finesse swim bait?
Finesse.
Top water blow up or deep bite?
Top water.
Clear water or dirty water?
In between.
Stained?
Yeah, I mean,
that's fun.
Most of our water, well, I mean, it all depends, right? So I mean, where you are, Jesse, I mean, if you're fishing table rock or something like that, that's not my jam. My jam is not like the Highland.
That's why you never want to come up and go fishing with me.
No, I mean, where I am, I mean, we have some of those lakes nearby, but the majority of our lakes are a slight stain. So kind of tannic water, slight stain, cypress trees. That's where I'm most comfortable.
Okay. Fair enough. Not everybody can be right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm defensive of Table Rock because it's my home lake. It's where I'm 30 minutes from there. So.
And to be honest with you, it's probably the one Ozark lake that I've not fished.
Well, we got to fix that. You're too close to not do
I
that. That fancy.
I know.
Spring or fall fishing?
Fall.
Fall? Really?
Just because
most people would say spring. I agree, but most people would say spring.
Yeah, they would. But I think for me, it's just based on past success. I feel like I'm a better fisherman in the summer and fall.
Okay.
Than I am early in the spring.
I concur. Not about you, about me. Go on.
Bank fishing or boat fishing, which you just got yourself a new rig and upgraded from which you were a kayak before that, but
yeah. So I mean, a kayak. I mean that's your like out in the water versus throwing to the water, right? And so boat for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
Matte finish or high gloss?
Man, I really like a matte finish. I've never done one yet, but I really like the matte finish.
Yeah. I'm interested. I've never done one either, but I would like to. Whenever we had Franco on, Engineered Angler, he was talking about releasing, which I don't think he has yet, a video. He has a video where he got sent some matte UV resin.
Really?
Matte finish UV resin. Yeah. So,
and
that got my ears perked up. Yeah, I got my ears perked up. I'm like, that could be really cool.
That's really cool.
But yeah, I've never done one either. I don't even know how I would.
So do all three of you guys use UV resin for clear?
I do,
yeah, exclusively.
Yeah, all three of you do? Yeah, okay.
Reluctantly at this point.
Yeah, so I've not dabbled in that yet. I've just used, auto clear is what I've been using.
I don't blame you. I think that's the smart way to start. I mean, the more baits I get from people that have a 2K clear on them, and not 1K like just regular stuff, like a 2K automotive, they're actually very clean, and you can feel they're pretty durable. I started with the UV resin, and it's durable also.
Sure.
So I mean, like, I haven't made the switch yet.
Yeah.
It does look like they're nice baits. Like Final Boss Baits sent me one, and he told me what he used, and I'm like, dude, this thing is clean.
Dude, Thomas is incredible. Like when you talk about a painter, and I mean, and I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. I mean, he is, and when you talk about styles, right? Like each painter has their style. I mean, I can pick out a Thomas non-bait. Like he's so unique and creative, and his whatever the dude does to prep his baits or whatever. I mean, and I've had him paint baits for me, and I know what I've at times what I've sent him, and they come back immaculate. I mean, just incredible. I mean, he is really, really good.
I have a batch coming back from him.
Yeah, no, dude, you will be impressed. He is really, really good. And
I'm a firm believer.
You need to have him on the show, and I will if you need me to
talk to him tonight.
Yes, I will message him as soon as we're done.
I'm a firm believer in, and Trevor can attest to this. Sorry to just break up the lightning round, but
completely.
There's no rules. It's fine.
Like if I want somebody to do something artistic for me, I just want them to do it. Like he was asking me, like, what styles do you want? And I gave him one specific thing I wanted, and it was just he had posted like the drippy swim baits with the so I was like, I'm sending you chipmunks, and I just want them to be drip monks. And I was like, take that for what it is.
Yeah.
And everything else, just do your own thing. And he's like, then he got them, and he's like, was there any colors you wanted? And I was like, no. just whatever you want. I just want some of them to be drip monks.
Yeah,
And
whatever
I
you're
don't even
feeling.
know what a drip monk is.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
make it a drip monk. And that's what same thing with Trevor. I'm like, we got all this room.
Yeah.
Just
do something.
Draw me something.
Trev, I got spaces, man. I've got room.
Let's fill them up.
Stuff. I need stuff.
He'll do that in a day. No
I
kidding.
got you.
I got to start
This
planning
was
my
the day?
Northwestern adventure.
Oh, damn.
This was a
all the
day,
way up
right?
to the pit?
Wait, no, was this one was the first one?
Yeah.
That was 2 days back to back. We did the top
Yeah.
and then the bottom.
Damn. You're an animal.
He had like a night's worth of sleep between the two.
Right? Good Lord. Man. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get it finished.
Yeah, well, when my guy was working on me up here, dude, about 30 minutes into it, I was like, this was a mistake.
I wasn't. Me and Trevor weren't friends anymore that day.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just for that day.
Yeah.
I don't care. This is the worst spot, man.
Oh, it's miserable.
I got this one too.
Yeah.
And,
okay,
and
so
not from
you're
Trevor,
very
from
smart.
someone else.
Yeah.
But the dude was like, "Oh, you took that really well," and I was like, "No, I didn't. I wanted to punch you in the face the entire time." It's like that's all I could think about. I hate you.
Well, the fact
But
that you
thank
didn't punch
you.
him in the face is the signal that you did really well.
Right.
Yeah,
He's probably-
I guess.
Trevor, you ever been punched in the face by a tattoo client?
Yes, one time.
Like,
But in my defense, she had gone to the bathroom and taken like 12 milligrams of a Xanax. So
Oh,
she came
dude.
back. So she came back and basically passed out, and I just continued tattooing. So then she like woke up and was like, "What's going on?" and like hit me, took my tattoo machine, threw it, and I'm like, "You gotta go. I'm done."
Yeah.
with it."
We're not
You're
finishing
done.
this. Get out. No refund. See you later. All right.
Yeah.
Well, back to the lightning round. We
Yeah.
made it about halfway through before we sidetracked.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
fine.
Sorry.
No. You're good. What was the last one? Matte finish or high gloss, I think is where we ended.
Yes.
Matte finish. Clean and simple paint or highly detailed?
That's another tough one because, well, I think because early on I would have said clean and simple, and clean and simple works. There's no doubt about it. But since I started painting, I think the other, right? Because that's kind of, at least where I am right now, that seems to be my style, which is more realistic. You
Yeah.
know?
That's fair. Stick with what works or constantly innovating?
Man, again, I'm gonna pull middle of the road again.
That's fair.
Well, because I think it depends, right? So stick with what works. If I think about like a buzz bait, I will throw a buzz bait till the last time I fish because it works, right? But from a bait maker perspective, the innovation side. Well, innovation is a weird word I think, in our business, right? But trying to and striving to do something a little bit different and innovating to a degree, right, is what keeps it interesting.
yeah, like should
Right, I
you
agree.
put that buzz bait on the front of a swim bait?
Why
That's
not?
innovation.
Try it.
Yeah.
Try it. Does it work? Maybe not. But try it,
Who knows?
right? But
Never know until you try.
But I think that's what keeps, like, from a bait builder's perspective, that's what keeps it fresh and interesting, right? Is just trying new stuff and, new things or new tweaks on an established pattern or an established concept is what keeps the innovation side interesting and keeps bait building interesting. If we were all making the same thing, it would be pretty stagnant.
Yeah. But also in the same note, it's hard to find something that's never been done altogether, right? Like it's hard to come up with something entirely brand new.
But
as far as a bait goes.
Right? But I guess that's what I was getting at is innovation, does that have to be something completely new?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't
Right.
doesn't have to. No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you 100%. But yeah.
Incremental innovation is
Yeah, sure.
how I would put it I love it. I've been doing a lot of that lately, so
Well, I mean,
it's fresh in my brain.
well, But I mean, I think that's how things progress, right? Things don't progress in big jumps. They progress incrementally, right? A little tweak here and there, and then all of a sudden something, oh my God, that looks totally different. But they don't see all the single steps in between that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Keep your best work or sell it?
Sell it.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some I wish I had back, but
yeah, but I mean, it's, I mean, what is it? I mean, my hope is that whatever is my best work, that I can replicate that. Right. And so if I, whether it's a paint job or whether it's a bait, I mean, obviously if it's a bait and it's your best work, you hope to hell you can replicate it. Right. But from the paint, I think it's the same deal, right? I mean, if it's the absolute best you're able to do, then you hope you can replicate that and absolutely sell it.
Yeah. I guess I'm speaking more from the wood side where everything's one off and it's like, replicating a wood carving is somewhat doable. Those are the ones. There are a few of those that I've made that I wish that were hard to let go of.
That's completely fair. And I think I mentioned this before. I tried carving early on and I sucked at it. And so I gave that up real quick. And so I don't have best work as far as carving goes.
No. And I still suck at it.
No, you don't.
On a regular basis. No, I have the ones that get shown are the ones that made it all the way through the process. I have a pile of blocks of wood that are awful, more than I've sold.
But is that not the rest of us, whether painting or whether that's anything else, right? I mean, I don't think it's
folders and folders of baits designed that were just garbage.
Dude, I have so many.
I have a whole cabinet of master molds on baits that I never even, I made one mold, made the bait, it was trash, that was it.
Yeah. No,
I'm
with
the last one for the bait.
I don't think I have as many as you, but yeah.
This is the last one for the lightning round. One big breakthrough or steady improvement over time?
Steady improvement.
I agree.
Yeah, the big breakthrough, I mean, okay, you'll be a flash in the pan, right? Oh. But, just steady improvement, doing quality stuff over time, that's where you leave a mark.
Yeah. Agreed. That's longevity.
Yep.
Right. Well, that was your lightning round. You did great. I'll give you a score of 98 out of 100 based on absolutely nothing. It's kind of like, whose line is it anyway? Everything's made up and the points don't matter. No, Matt, thank you again for joining us for a third time. Like, who would have thunk that anybody would ever want to come back here for a third time? But you did. I don't know what that says about you, but
he's kind.
But we appreciate it nonetheless.
No, I appreciate you guys for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're not done with you just yet, but those are all the questions that we pre-thought of to ask. So you're familiar with the show. Now's the kind of the time where we go around and talk about, and this just flashed into my memory. Your episode is the episode I learned how to ask the question. What is everybody working on right now? Bait related. I think I asked it, what would you be doing right now if you weren't doing the podcast? And you were like, cooking dinner. And I was like, okay, lesson learned.
Yeah, that was don't need that way. Yeah.
But what are you working on right now, bait related?
Bait related. I've actually been screwing around. Will they ever see the light of day? I'm guessing no, but you never know.
I could never paint.
Right. Fourth episode he'll be on. Let's hear it.
No, I've been dinking around with some soft bait designs, mainly like silicone baits, just screwing around with that. And this is 100% a consequence. I'm going to blame it on Anthony. And so it's 100% a consequence of understanding and realizing how to cure, resin molds and resin prints to be able to inject or pour silicone in them. And so I've had an idea, not going to give the details, but I've had an idea since 2000. I actually looked back at the file not long ago, since 2002, I think it was, or not 2002, 22, since 2020.
Jeez.
Yeah, a long time ago.
That's an old file.
Yeah.
24 years ago? Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Were computers,
Disc.
were computers a thing back then?
Right. No. Since 22. That I had this idea, and it's kind of a mishmash of a couple of existing concepts in the market, but kind of, my own little twist on it. And so, whether that works, I don't know, because I've never done a soft bait before. And it's a swim bait, but I've never done a soft swim bait. But if the concept works, then it's pretty cool. We'll see what happens. But as far as hard baits go, I'm dinking around with a few different things for different parts of the water column. So rather than, kind of a shallow running glide or something like that, something else that you can get a little deeper and that sort of thing. But that's kind of the main things I've been dinking around with lately.
Sweet.
I bet that soft bait's taking up a lot of brain power, just like thinking how you want to attack it.
Well, and it's more, it's a line through style bait. And so a lot of it is ballast weighting, but not too much, and the harness, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? To make the line through harness so it doesn't rip out the face. And so it's, robust enough that, that it would stand up to the abuse that they take, right? And then finding the silicone that's the right hardness that you get the right swim and so forth. And you want to make it adjustable enough that you can fish it in different parts of the water column. So, it's like anything in what we do. It's 100% experimentation, trial and error, time, patience, which at times I don't have. And so it could be something that I dink with for the next month and then I put away till next year. I don't know. But some, like all of us,
I got a few of those.
Yeah.
Well,
I see your videos all the time. Like, oh, look at this swimming in the tank. Look at this one. Look at this one.
Yeah. When are they ever going to come out? Who knows?
Who knows? But it's the process, right? That's what's fun.
Yep, exactly. Trevor, what are you working on bait-wise right now?
I got some summit things I'm working on. I'm gonna leave it very discreet if you're not watching my page. But stay tuned. It's gonna get exciting.
Heck yeah.
Hella variations.
Hella variations. People aren't ready.
Nice.
I wasn't. But I'm becoming.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Cool. Anthony, what about you? What are you working on?
I'm working on baits today. Finishing up the Swamp Stalker, the collab bait between me and Xena from Little River Lore Lady. These are coming out April 1st. So a few days after this episode airs, these will be released. I got a poison dart frog in chartreuse, and I tried to paint these with a stencil and immediately realized it's pointless. So I just started freehanding spots because I'm looking at the reference picture and I'm like,
oh, they're all different.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm like, if I use the stencil this way, that'll be great. And then that way, and I'm like, screw that. Some of them got like a smiley face and then it got like crossed just to make like, I think they came out cool. And this is like a bullfrog.
Very cool.
So
that's such
April
a cool
1st.
And the action on it's insane.
Yeah, that took about 5 or 6 lip variations just to get where we wanted it.
The sucker's got some wobble, man.
Yeah, see, that was the thing. Like, we got it to where I thought it was good, but I fish fast.
Yeah.
So then when she tried it, she fished it a little slower and it barely wanted to do anything. So I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. We kind of need to be like in the middle-ish. Like you got to be able to slow retrieve it and do a quicker retrieve. Maybe not like crazy fast burn with a high gear ratio. It's going to probably start skipping, but so then back to the drawing board. You know the process.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is like almost a year probably. I'm excited to get them
you've been
out
working
there.
on that for a while.
I got to fish it like all of last year, so like just on the down low testing prototypes. So I already had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait for the topwater bite to pick up around here.
Yep. They're very cool.
I got some coming back from Thomas, my favorite color, black and blue. Yep. He said, get some black and blue legs made. It's like, all right, doing it tonight. Made some black and blue legs with some 8-bit interference blue mica shift. And dude, they are crazy. That stuff, I put 1 drop of black and then the interference blue, and it just like instantly turned them like bright metallic blue. But then from another angle, they're still black. Like, I don't know.
That's cool.
It's cool to mix it in with the silicone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What are you working on besides dropping these banger shirts?
Oh, yeah. Sick new merch at freakbaits.com. Got the shirts. Anthony's modeling one of them for me. I got new hats. I'll show you that. Yes, my hat does match my Anthony's shirt. So funny story behind the scenes here, folks. Anthony and I both jumped on to record this podcast, and we were wearing the same shirt. I had the same shirt on that he did. And so when I said my shirt matches, or my hat matches Anthony's shirt, I was going to say my shirt, but then I realized I changed shirts. But yes, got shirts, new hats, hoodies, all available at freakbaits.com. The next release in the Freak Baits Invasion series should be coming out very soon. I can't commit to by the time this episode goes live, but very soon. It is a lipless crankbait called the Harbinger. Very promising. Very excited about this one, and it'll be available soon. And then that wasn't going to be the next one I did. I've got another one and another one that are kind of waiting in the wings right now. But Anthony, we were in our group chat one day, and I said, I want something that's easy to make. And he's like, why don't you turn the probe into a lipless? And I was like, it does have a flat forehead on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just like a day later, it was done and it was ready. And I'm very excited about it. So that'll be available. It looks kind of like the probe, but it's one piece. It's got a great action to it. So that'll be coming out very soon. And then I guess I got the design bug because now I'm currently working on and workshopping a subsurface lipless wake variant.
Cool.
Of the probe that I was shocked worked because I don't know anything about lipless wakes, but somehow it worked, and it worked really, really well on my first prototype. A couple of little tweaks I still need to make to it and do some more testing, but it's definitely got some promise to it. It's a 2-piece wake. Yeah. That, all the probes from the last drop are almost gone. I think there's 2 left out of the 24 I originally posted. Yeah, just trying to get baits made, man. Like that's the thing now. The more baits you come out with, the more baits you have to make, which nobody told me that. So that's kind of the
That's a fact.
The more different kinds you have, the more you have to make. And it's like, wow, I was just making 1 and now I got to make like 3 or 4 or 5. It's like, don't know that I'm ready for it, but I'm going to try to rise to the occasion and get a couple of baits out in the spring before spring is over. We'll say that, but a couple more in the invasion lineup. So yeah, that's about it for me. So
I can't wait.
Cool.
Can't wait to fish that.
Yeah, it's which one?
The lipless.
Which lipless? They're both lipless.
The
crankbait or wake?
Lipless crank.
Crank. Yeah.
The wake looked really good. Not to knock you, but I'm surprised it worked.
Oh, I was shocked. Like nobody was more surprised than I was.
As quickly as it did.
I was like, I think if I do this and make it this and change the proportions here, maybe it'll work. I don't know. And it did. It's the first time I've ever gotten lucky on the first one. So I'm happy about it. So all that stuff will be coming out within the next couple of months, at least, if I can find the time. I'm also traveling all around the country because my son is in competitive robotics. So into Minnesota, Illinois, and I'm going to be going to Louisiana in a week. And
man.
Yeah.
So getting stuff done is
intense.
Yeah.
I was watching it on Saturday. Me and Jesse were watching the competition. I'm like, Jesse, what are they doing? What's the goal? It seems like a lot's going on. What are they trying to do?
It's crazy, man. It's like a huge sporting event.
Yeah.
That's cool.
First robotics competition. It's pretty crazy. My son wants to be an engineer when he grows up. So
sounds like it.
And he'll be 16 in June, so he's pretty much already grown up. But chasing him all around the country to watch him, his robot, and he's a driver, so he's driving this year. So it's been pretty crazy. A lot of travel for that and for work and for everything. When I'm going to get all these baits made and out, I have no idea, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
Well, he needs to engineer a faster way for you to make them.
Oh, he doesn't care. He thinks it's cool that I make baits, but he's not been too terribly interested in it. He likes to fish, so that's cool.
So he's smart.
Yeah, he's smart and he's not a psychopath. But anyway, all right. Before we jump into our question of the week, and we do have a question of the week to wrap things up, Matt, is there anything on the way from Giff Glidez that our viewers and listeners should be on the lookout for?
Nothing immediately. I mean, I'm working on a few different things, but I guess the biggest thing is, once this semester winds down, which is here in the next month or so, then, be on the lookout for more drops of all the stuff that I make. And so we'll be ramping up the drops and everything, once we, finish up, get into April and May, you'll start seeing more Giff Glidez drops.
Do you get the summer off? You do? That's awesome.
Anthony, that's the only way that I could make this work at all, is the fact that, given my job, I mean, the summers are mostly free. I mean, aside from family stuff and things like that. And, I mean, I have graduate students, and so I've got to help out with their research here and there. But I mean, for the most part, yeah, I can focus pretty heavily on the bait side of things.
Very cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll leave links to everything Sorry, I made it this far without mispronouncing any or most things. We'll leave links to all things Giff Glidez down in the description below. Make sure you're following Matt on all of his social medias. Go check out his website. Maybe buy a bait or 5. I don't know how many, if you even have any up right now, but yeah,
there's several.
But
yeah.
Well, go check them out. Grab you one because they are great baits. Yeah. So let's wrap things up with our question of the week. We do have a question of the week this week. Thank God, because we've gone a few episodes without one, but we did get one on our last episode. And it's a really, really good one that will apply to all of us here as soon as I find it. If you would like us to answer a question on a future episode, please leave it down in the comments. Any question will do, preferably bait making / fishing related, but we'll take anything at this point. We need to build our list back up. But this one is bait making related. So it comes from the one true Tim. That's a bold claim to make, but
he's the truest Tim. No lie.
He's the truest Tim.
Yeah.
Been talking with him a lot lately about some of this stuff. So it's cool to see him asking a question on YouTube. He asked this one on YouTube, and his question is a very good one. What are your biggest tips or tricks for getting consistent results when pouring resin? It seems like I have issues with getting a good mixture, particularly when using microspheres.
Tips and tricks.
Yeah. Tips and tricks. Have a good scale. And I think, I mean, if the result is what is inconsistent, then it might, and the scale is consistent, then it might be more environmental issues that he's running into more than anything. And so I would say, environmental control is going to be the most important thing. I mean, humidity control, probably more even than temperature. And to a degree, obviously those are correlated, but I think the biggest variation I've seen has been a consequence of humidity control.
Humidity sucks.
Yeah.
I would say use quality materials. And like you said, humidity it's not even so much the micro balloons. It's when they're mixed with the resin and the humidity affected the mixture, whether it's like sack pig micro balloons aren't as affected by humidity, but your resin can be affected by humidity. And then you start getting more buoyant mixture. There's more air pockets that develop, and it's just a byproduct of the resin having water mixed into it. Like, mix up the resin and just intentionally put some water in it and see what it does. It turns into like a muffin. I tried to mix like acrylic paint in to see if I could dye it, and it turned into this brown muffin. And a lot of times people don't realize that's what's happening inside the bait because it's creating like a shell, kinda, you know? So store your materials in the driest conditions you can, and just try to keep, you know, the humidity in your work area. Probably like I have a 2,000 square foot dehumidifier, and it's like a 200 square foot room, but the humidity's 40% all the time.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think sort of the primo, if you can keep your room at 40% relative humidity or at 40% humidity, right? You are that keep it there all the time. And if it varies a whole lot from that, that's when you start getting variation in, you know, sink rates. I mean, you could weight them all the same, but they're going to be different because of that humidity and that water absorption.
Yeah.
And mix fast.
Yep.
Yeah, that too. A dehumidifier though, that's something like when you're working with resin and microballoons. I also will take a handful of those desiccant packets, and I use sack pig, and they come in a bag, and I keep it in the bag in a tub. I'll just take a handful of those and throw it directly in the bag, and just make sure they're spread out a little bit to try to keep the moisture out of the microballoons, because those things, you're right, Anthony, they're not as affected by humidity as a lot of other microballoons out there, but they still can be affected. Like I've seen that happen, and I've actually been able to bring a batch back by just loading it up with desiccants. Little desiccant, the little, you know, do not eat pouches that you find in beef jerky, but that's helped me. Also, mixing your microballoons all into one part of your resin before you combine it. That gives you plenty of time. And somebody actually commented this, but I also I agree. They commented this below Tim's comment. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, it depends on what ratio you're using and what type of microballoons. Like, you can split it up between the two halves and mix them individually first if you need to. I always mix it into one. I always mix it into my part B, get it like just a real thick, creamy consistency to where it's perfectly mixed in, and then you'll have a lot easier time mixing in your second part before it all kicks off, and you'll get a much smoother pour that way. I used to try to do it all at once, and that never worked out well. And I figured, it can be a mess. So that's my tip. Trevor, what about you?
I wish I had a tip. I just perfectly wing everything. So
stop it. The guy just knows what he's doing.
I mean, I don't have anything else I could say that you three didn't mix it well. That would have been my absolute tip, but you know, just mix it well, and definitely do one part with your microballoons and then add the other. And I find doing B first with microballoons works better than A with microballoons and then adding B.
Yeah, no, that I agree. I don't do that anymore, but it does help. Sometimes I'm just too much in just mixing them up, but it definitely is a little easier to do it that way. Like, get a nice paste, then add your A.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just consistency, right? I mean, if you're being inconsistent, if your pours are inconsistent, if your environmental conditions are consistent and your process is consistent, then your bait will be consistent.
Yeah,
definitely.
A lot of stuff you can control, and I feel like a lot of what gets missed early on is the outside effects, like temperature, humidity, storage of your products.
Yeah, I found out like insulating my garage door changed things dramatically. Just putting
big time
for both during hot and cold. I cut a big hole in my garage door so I could have an air conditioner right there because it was easier than cutting a hole in the wall. I've just got one of those little portable air conditioners that's also a dehumidifier, and
that's what I've got.
Game changing. Now that's like, I'm not saying everybody should go out and cut a hole in their wall or garage door, but like definitely insulation and a dehumidifier, because you don't have to cut a hole for that. At the very least, to control those environmental variables that will just wreak havoc. You'll pour it perfectly one day, and then the next day you can't get a bait to come out right.
I mean, I've got a portable AC unit in the garage, insulated garage doors, and then I've got a 220 heater unit hanging from the ceiling. So for the wintertime, I can heat it. You know what I mean? And no problem. I mean, it could be 30 degrees outside and I can have it 70 degrees in there, no problem.
Yeah. It's insane how much that garage door insulation helps. Even if your garage isn't necessarily insulated, it still helps so much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Here's another thing. Whatever resin you're using, or just any products you're using, this is a good thing to do before you start using them. Go to the company's website and look at their technical data sheets, and a lot of info on storage and usage and, everything. Even like a safety data sheet is different, but sometimes they mix them in together. You see what to do if it gets in your eyes and stuff, but you'll find stuff in there that you would never have known before. Like, how would you know that it actually doesn't cure for like 3 days or something like that? Because it says demold time 15 minutes, but this one recommends being baked at 140 degrees for so many hours, and this one doesn't. Like, you kind of got to like go into it with like, I don't want to say engineering, but like a scientific approach. Like,
you have to
learn as much as you can about the products you're using, because once you understand why something does what it does, it's easier to troubleshoot it afterwards.
100%.
Yeah. Like specialty resin has all their technical data sheets. I'm sure so does probably all the resin companies probably do. But I've had a lot of people,
don't they?
Probably the SDS, but I don't know about like the technical instructions.
Oh yeah.
But read those, because some smart guy put them together. Somebody like worked at the company and actually like put some effort into like seeing how things work and doing experiments. And it's like, you don't even have to just see what this guy did, whoever that feller is.
Why are you making the assumption that I know how to read?
Well, I can't read either. I can listen, and Google Chrome.
Do they make them in audiobook format?
Yeah, you can go in and translate it to any language and make it play.
Oh, that'll help. Yeah, let's play it in German. Anyway, all right. That was your question of the week. Leave your questions in the comments below to have a chance to have them.
That was a good question.
That was a very good question.
Give us some more questions like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That was fun. It was a good one. But yeah, leave them in the comments, please. Please, 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 please. Leave them in the comments. There's a very good chance that it will be answered on a future episode, especially if you do it now. But that brings us to the close of this episode. Matt, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know it took some doing to get this pulled off, but we appreciate you taking the time out of your vacation and all the stuff you got going on to hang out with us.
I appreciate you guys being patient with me.
For sure.
No problem at all. But also thank you to 8-Bit Baits for sponsoring this year's season of the Bait Boys podcast. Make sure you're getting your entries into the 8-Bit Baits Bait Boys Battle Royale before April 30th. And I think that's about it. Thank you all for sticking through with us to the end. And as always, we will see you next time.
Bait Boys podcast, that's all we got. This episode is over, but there's always the next. Before you leave, like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment below. It'll keep us alive. Thanks for making us your choice. It's all for now with the Bait Boys.
Great episode, fellas.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.